Hey, this is Jon Leon Guerrero. Today's guest is Matt Mosteller. He's known more commonly as Powder Matt, and he's a true ski bum. He's an author, a freelance journalist and columnist, and he's an ambassador for getting more adventure and fresh air into your life. He's also Senior Vice President of Marketing and Resort Experience for Resorts of the Canadian Rockies, which is the largest operator of ski and golf resorts in Canada. His writing shows up frequently in the Calgary Herald, the Vancouver Sun, Explorer magazine, and in lots of other print and online outlets. His first book, The Adventurer's Guide to Living a Happy Life, offers 63 daily meditations to help you broaden your horizons and experience the awe of adventure. And if you think 63 is a pretty unusual number of daily meditations, well, it's the number of nights that Matt slept in his car as a young man so he could ski every day. Powder Matt is an inspiration to us, a crusader in the fight against childhood obesity, and a great example of a guy straddling the worlds of corporate marketing and freelance media to get more of us to experience the fulfillment of adventure in the outdoors. You're going to love him. Here's Matt Mosteller.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Proops.
This is Jordan Harbinger.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This is
East.
Sebastian Younger.
This is Rick Morata.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
Hey, this is Skunk Baxter.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is Jon Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
Hey, everybody. I'm Powder Matt, and I'm a ski bum. And you're listening to The Break It Down Show.
And now, The Break It Down Show with Jon Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
We're to talk a little bit about my book, The Adventurer's Guide to Living a Happy Life. Pete, are we ready to go?
Yeah, man, we're ready to do it. Let's go ahead and do it today, because tomorrow, frankly, a little too late. So let's talk about that part of your philosophy, this get out there and making a great day today. Just give us an idea of, this is why we want you on, right? Because your take on life, you talked about, and this is really kind of a part two from Mark Pattison's show, Finding Your Summit. So we'll not cover a lot of that ground again, but one of the things you said was get out to nature and experience wonder. Like, okay, yeah, let's do that. That's what struck me. So I want to share this with the audience. So let's talk about Tomorrow's Too Late.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's amazing. We've got millions of years in the making. We've been on our feet, walking the ground and feeling the goodness that nature and the outdoors provides. And just in the last couple hundred years have we taken a detour from that, Pete. We've left what provides some of our most goodness for our soul, what can recalibrate our mind, what can give us direction like a positive compass, what can give us energy, what can give us confidence. The outdoors can do so much for us.
Yeah, you're right. Just being out there, whatever it is, whether you're on water or hiking on a mountain stream or whatever it is, you certainly have better days when you do those things. It's hard to, apart from, some kind of catastrophe with a bear or something like that happening, it's really hard to have a bad day when you're out in nature doing, communing with nature without electronics. It's just, like you and some friends riding mountain bikes. It's really hard for that to suck.
Yeah, and this is why for me, tomorrow is too late. I'm not perfect, but I'm doing everything I can for myself to try to make today great and do the most I can to focus in on each step that I make. It's simply like taking a walk. I look at these every step. If you focus on each step, then that feeling of really being present happens, and it's something we need to work on it. And I call it, for me, it's rewilding myself and getting back immersed in nature's goodness. And it's so, I think it's never been more important than now. In today's world, we are in a full barrage. Like, it's coming at you with us, just throwing heaps of electronic information and data from all directions. And I'm not sure that our brains can handle all that. I know how it's, made mine misfire. And I think it's really challenging. And we've got to figure out ways to declutter our minds. And one of our best ways is to get outside, walk a trail. It's a simple thing. Your local park will do. Just step out there and start making steps in the park and listen and hear and get the senses rolling and things will change for you in a positive way. And it only takes 10 to 20 minutes every day.
Yeah, you're right. We were talking yesterday here at the house about the things you used to have to wait for. It was just so much waiting in the back in the olden days. But it was, you had to wait. Like if you wanted to buy tickets for a concert, you didn't just push a button and have your ticket arrive. You actually had to physically stand there, sometimes for hours. Sometimes you're in a line and like the 10 people around you were going to 10 different concerts because they were all in the same line as you. So you're really waiting in several lines simultaneously. And there was just, you didn't have to always do something, like you could really just stand there and be social and we've gotten, to the benefit, but also to the detriment. We've gotten very dependent upon these phones and they give us a lot of time back. But that time is always action-packed and crisis-packed and stress-packed. And you're right, that investment in that mountain stream, in that pushing, like a lot of the guys on Mark's show are mountain climbers, and they're pushing themselves past the limit of comfort and into a zone that I call, and a lot of us do this, there's miscomfort, right? Not discomfort, but a comfort that you're not familiar with, so you don't know how to find the comfort in it. It's like running a mile at speed can be something that's wonderful for someone who loves to run. And if you do that yourself, you're like, gosh, this was really hard and shitty and I don't like it. But it turns out like once you get an affinity for it and some capacity, you can really do it. So that time outside, out at the beach, wherever it is, on a mountain in your case, it's a special thing. How did you discover that, the power of it? I mean, I know it seems simple. Everybody goes to the mountains and you breathe in the fresh mountain air. But to really get a handle on that as part of a philosophy, talk about that.
Well, I think, and you just summed it up really succinctly. It's put it simply, we're distracted a lot nowadays. And at the same time, we rarely choose, how we focus or how we direct our attention. Everything's chosen for us. And I think part of where it happened for me, the light bulb has been going off for a while, is that when you're out in Mother Nature's world, nature bats last. It's a very humbling experience. It could be the weather. It could be also the teamwork. You have to focus on the team and support of others. They depend on you. Mm-hmm. Your safety depends on that. You have to make decisions, and you have to make decisions quickly with limited information. Combine all of those things that happen outside. Those things give you this inside feeling of goodness, confidence, of respect, of care, and a greater feeling that you're not, you're not the ruler of this world. It's Mother Nature, and being humble is a good thing, and feeling small is really wonderful. So if you take all those things together and rack them all together, it made me reflect on when I would come back to the real world, I'd see these people that were frantic, making quick decisions, not focused, going back and forth, dramatic, victims, feeling powerless. And I just felt like, whoa, I just came from an area and a place that provides all the opposite to all of that. And more people need more of that than what we get from our electronic distraction and from our disconnected world and from our nature deficit that we have going on in today's world to a massive level.
Nature deficit. Obviously, that's a concept that you are into and have thought about. Talk a little more about a nature deficit.
Well, I think, it's partly just that our brains are being wired by our devices. And we have to, and we only have so much capacity. And so then when we really let all of that space be taken by electronic stimulation, then we're kind of, we aren't what I would call whole. And because, one of the things that I do, I escape civilization and stride into the wilderness, kind of in some ways to forget what's going on. But really, more importantly, to meld with something much bigger than ourselves. And I think that when people don't have that in their toolbox or to help them provide a true north for them, then they're totally disoriented. and they then bounce around like a pinball in the old pinball machine.
Yeah. You were talking earlier about care and I guess in a large sense, community. I mean, so just for the audience's benefit, you guys should go listen to his interview with Mark, but you sort of started your what I call the proto-adult life. Like as you were trying to figure out what kind of an adult you were and what it meant to survive on your own, you went down the route of the ski bum route. Like, how do I go out and get on this mountain and ski as often as possible, to the point where, like, kind of like Alex Honnold, you're living in your car, not because you're homeless, but because your home is right there at the mountains. And so you went to extreme measures and kind of broke through that point where you learned how to live in that regard. And a lot of that is by being the kind of person that someone would invite to, like, yeah, come stay on our couch, dude, you're awesome. And being part of a community where you do care for one another. It appears to me, and this is just, the angry old man conversation, but it appears to me that a lot of the younger folks are missing out on this whole attitude of, like, it's awkward, or I'm socially awkward. That's some of that miscomfort where you can work into, like, oh, actually communing with people, hanging out with people that I don't know and being comfortable. Like, that can be all right. It's not that you don't like people. It's just you feel like you don't need people in your life. But it turns out we're a tribal, by the fire, cooking and eating together kind of animal. And I'm sure you must have some kind of resonance with that, because I'm very similar. Like, I've sat in villagers' homes in Iraq and Afghanistan and had me feed me their food. And, it changes the dynamic of who you are and how they respond to you. And it lets you know that, heck, we're a lot more alike, no matter where you go, than we're disalike. It doesn't mean that everybody has to get along, but I think defaulting to being outside, defaulting to community, and working and relying on one another and lending a hand. Like, I used to rock climb back in the olden times, and that's not typically a solitary sport. Like, you're there top roping with somebody, you're looking out for one another, you're double checking each other so you stay safe. Talk a little bit about that communal aspect that you've developed through your experiences.
Yeah, Pete, you are so right on. It's, I think there's something like 70% of, when people are searching for happiness, 70% of real happiness comes from relationships, and a lot of people are seeking relationships, but you're right. It's the real relationships, the community, and actually the old barbecue and the block party and hanging out with friends in the street and skateboarding and going to Yosemite with your climbing buddies. Those are the real relationships. It's not the relationships we really create on our device, and that's, to me, a big difference in the old versus the new. And it's not like, I agree with you, technology is not bad. Technology has done a lot of good for us, but it's also, how do we use that technology and understand it and make a choice around it so that we can better our lives. And what really showed me clearly the power of exactly what you talked about, the power of community, is the ski bum world. And much like the mountain climbing world, much like the rock climbing world, it's a community. It connects you face to face with people. You depend on people. You trust people. There's those joyful moments that happen with people. Everybody's sharing, because everybody has to help each other out, or you don't make it. Yeah. Whether it's sharing gear, whether it's sharing your couch, whether it's sharing your ride, you're always connected in a way that says, how can we help each other out? How can we bring more joy together? Not just about myself, but it's about looking at it from the view of the community. If I'm doing good for my community, more than likely the community is doing good for me too. And it's moving yourself to the side and taking a bigger view on life in a way that is about being connected, is about sharing, is about giving joy, is about the old school, I call it just opening door for people, helping others out. And what it does too is it makes you talk. So yeah, you learn how to communicate, and maybe you work on some subjects that aren't so easy for you to talk about, but because you've got this feeling of care, from others, you're more able to talk about subjects that maybe aren't comfortable for you. You're more able to connect more deeply on a different level with people, and people maybe that aren't like you and don't come from the same place. And
Yes.
But you're right, you share so much. What you share are the stuff that really matters. You see that they are able to share love, they're able to share joy, they're able to open their house for you and open their arms for you. And those things are what it's all about. You know, it's really about community, your friends, your family, the environment, and also caring for yourself from a healthy energy food perspective, from taking time to declutter your mind, to making sure that you're doing the best you can for your community each and every day.
Yeah, boy, you just said a lot of things that inspired a lot of questions in me, and I want to play around in this space a little bit, because you're right. Like, I think technology is great, and we're using it right now. You know, you're nowhere near where I am. We're having a great conversation, and we're being inspired. It's never the same as you and I sitting somewhere and having a coffee while we do this face to face. That will always be significantly better, but here we are doing something that would be impossible otherwise. And so I would rather share this time with you, even in this, kind of reduced bandwidth kind of way. But there's something to be said for, okay, yes, opening your door and helping someone, but it's also something to be said to be comfortable with accepting someone else's help or needing help, and then building up what I would call a help deficit, where you've received help and now you're like obliged to help other people. Because there's things where I'll walk by a homeless guy, and instead of having the default, which used to be my default of that fucker made bad decisions, I'm not going to give him any of my money. Even when I've got no money, I walk by and I'm like, you know what, I really don't care what this person uses this money for. If this is what they're asking for and they're sitting on the ground and I've got $2 that I could use for myself because I really don't have any money, or I could give it to this person, I'm just going to give it to them. And maybe that makes me a sucker, but I've had so many people in my life help me out. I mean, I get the podcast for a living. I didn't get to do this because I did it on my own. I've had my friends buy me meals. People take care of me in the way that they could in the moment. I have to help other people a lot more than I ever did before, because I've been helped a lot. But I guess what I'm getting at with this is my willingness to take this leap to become this creative person as a profession is not an easy leap. You have to get rid of all the extra baggage. You can't jump across this chasm with a TV set and a credit card from Macy's and all these other things. Like, you have to have nothing and be willing to give everything up, and then you get a hand along the way. And those hands that you couldn't see, it's kind of like the Indiana Jones leap of faith, thing. Those hands that were there and continue to be there for me, I have to put my own hands up, and it makes, I believe, the world a better place. I know you've lived this because you're a ski bum, right? You've had help, and people are like, come on, I would love to do what you're doing. Of course we're going to support you in this. And that willingness to be helped and to be vulnerable is also a powerful community machine.
You are so right, Pete. You are absolutely so right. And you touched on that. What you did, it's going all in. I mean, you went for it, and you didn't go all in without absolute respect. Right. Respect for your community, respect for your friends who helped you along the way, and care. I mean, I liken it to going deep. For me, it's longing for snow powder, but it's longing for what you love, and going deep is going forward to make that happen. And you went deep, you went all in, and it's exactly that. I mean, you're this gift. Life is a gift, and we have to treat it as that. And I always say that it's not the years in your life, but it's the life in your years.
Yeah. And
people can tell. Either you're going to be distracted in your life, or you're going to have a life of joy. And are you choosing to take the path that is easy, or are you choosing the path that's most meaningful? We have to look at this as we get one kick at this thing, And, I'm really just focused on this thing that tomorrow is too late. So have those important conversations, show that care for the people that matter in your life, be kind randomly. Random acts of kindness are powerful. Giving your heart and soul to others and sharing your ideas and sharing the ways that may inspire others to make positive change in their life. Those things all matter. They all matter, and what you're doing matters. You're sharing what people are talking about. And as people listen to these things, hopefully a nugget of inspiration will happen inside their heart too. And they'll decide to make a difference, and choose a new step in their life and walk with that goodness.
That walk with goodness, it requires getting outside. I want to get back to the getting into nature and just accepting wonder into your life. And I know we talked about this when we first were talking about being on the show, a couple months ago now. But we talked about collecting moments of joy. Everybody could talk about misery and grief and grinding pain in their life because those are significant moments, and they build character in a lot of ways and who you are. But if I ask someone, like, when was the last time you had just unbridled joy where you could not stop smiling and just welled up? And it's harder for them to do that. But if you focus on pain, gosh, you can find all kinds of things. That wonder that you get, give us an idea, pull your paintbrush out and paint for us some wonder, because it is amazing to put that into your mind and your body and your soul.
Well, for me, I can talk about a wonder way back in my early days, and I just, I was a super, super fat kid and couldn't do anything, had no real joy and couldn't play any sports, I just felt, horrible. And in fact, I was bullied and so some neighbors were going skiing and they just wanted us to help pay for gas. So, we paid some gas. I rode in the station wagon up to the local ski area, and they all departed from the car and went skiing. I had no idea. What skiing was like or what it was all about. I just sat in the car, and the car was iced over. You know how the windows get frosty, and I rolled down the window and opened the door a little bit to get some fresh air in. And when I opened that door, cracked it open, this guy was walking by, and he looked over at me, and we caught eyes, and he said, "Hey kid, what are you doing?" And I kind of just paused, and didn't say anything. And he goes, "Hey, come with me. I'll teach you how to ski." And it was a ski instructor, and the ski instructor grabbed me, and I had no idea what I was getting into, and I was scared and frightened by it all. I was leaving the car. That was my only little base of safety. But here I went with him. And I went up to the ski area. He got me all the gear, the skis, the boots, the poles, all foreign to me. Knew nothing about it. And he took me up to the top and gave me some basic instruction and said, "Hey kid, you're going to feel like an eagle." And I'm going, "Feel like an eagle? What does that mean? Feel like an eagle? Wow. What would a feeling like an eagle be like?" And he said, "Just point them down the hill. You'll stop and everything will be fine. And I want you can do this." And someone was feeling like they were feeling confidence in me. And I was like, wow, they're believing in me. And, and I thought this was so amazing, this feeling I was already having. So I went for it. And I went down that little rope tow hill, and that feeling of freedom just came across and just filled my soul up with, I was like overjoyed. I had fresh air in my face, and I was doing this myself. And it was such an amazing feeling. And he was right. I felt like an eagle. I was soaring with the eagles. And that changed my life. And it made me feel like, you know what? I can do something in my life that makes me feel really good, healthy, and happy, and brings joy to me. And I felt like I got to share this with others. Yeah. I got to share this with others. Because if this can do this for me, I bet you there's thousands or millions of other kids out there that maybe need this too.
Yeah, maybe they need this too. Okay, so what happens along the way? I mean, look, you've got friends that are, young. You guys are out there, you're doing it, you're skiing, you're changing your life. But, life offers self-selection moments, right? Where, well, I got to go to school because I want to make something more of myself. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? So then you go out to college and like, now I got to get married and have a kid and get this job. And next thing you know, you're driving 75 minutes each way to work because that's where you can afford to buy a house and, have a job that's, and you become this person that we don't pick this person when we're in the 8th, 9th, 10th grade. We're like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that thing. And again, nothing wrong with having a stable, middle class kind of life, but it isn't what you would pick 10 years earlier, right? When you're 18, you wouldn't pick the life that you have when you're 28. You must have seen your friends kind of self-select into these paths that, they would know in retrospect weren't where they wanted to go. What happens, man? Like what's the difference between taking like this ski bum path or even just a more fulfilled path where you go do this regular, more regimented, quote unquote normal life, but you also, go outside on the weekends and ride your mountain bike or whatever it is. What happens along the way? What do you think changes in us to make it okay to do the other thing rather than the thing that we would have normally chosen?
Well, Pete, you opened up a box there. This is huge stuff. And I think one of the things, look at society's built on this certainty deal. You go to junior high school, you do okay, you go to high school, oh, we better work on these things, get these grades, do this, then you'll get to university. And then when you get out of university, boom, you'll have this job and everything will be awesome. And certainty, there is no certainty anymore. It's absolutely gone. The old model during the industrial age, sure, it might have worked then, but it doesn't work anymore. And so I think, for me, my ways forward on this is I think people have to, they may not know it, but I think they got to dig deep inside themselves. Is there anything that provides them currently joy and provides interest for them? Some because all their friends and their parents go, follow your passion every now. And then the kid looks at them and goes, I don't know what my passion is. I have no idea. Well, you're not going to know. I mean, today the passion may change quite a bit. In your job, you may have 15 jobs instead of 2. So I think it's about finding the 2 or 3 things that are of somewhat of interest to that person right now. Mm-hmm. And then start like an onion, start adding layers of value around. Let's just pick one of them and go down that rabbit hole and start adding layers of value that can help you get forward in that field or that space or that opportunity. I want to be an artist. Well, I'm going to learn how to paint by hand with oils first. And then I'm going to find some place where there's an art gallery. Well, maybe I'll work at the art gallery. Hey, Mr. Art Gallery owner or Mrs. Art Gallery owner, can I display my art? Oh, here, let me show it to you. Oh, that's cool. Can we create a little space that now features my art? And then maybe the art magazine for the local community or art website for the local region or area or state or province, whatever it is, we start looking at sending them examples of our art. And then on social, maybe your Instagram account now is, up and coming artists with your story, and then start showcasing your art. So it's really finding what's stirring inside of you. You don't necessarily need to think that's going to be it, end all be all, but you got to start moving forward, because if you ain't making forward progress, you ain't moving your life forward. Yeah. And so if we ain't making steps on the trail, then we aren't moving forward. And it's about forward motion. People want to be around people that are moving forward. And heck, you're going to be a better self when you're moving forward, because when you're moving forward, you're learning things. Right. You're challenging yourself. You're making a difference in your life for yourself, and it's also making a difference in your life for others. So you're helping others out too. And don't get stuck though. This is the deal though. Once you start making it, now, hey, look, your art's going crazy and all awesome, and people are sending you great notes that it's amazing, best ever. But that's the time to dig down deeper on the humble side, on the caring side, on the respect side. So making sure you're giving thanks to the art gallery owner that helped you along the way, the art instructor, the people in the community that are reaching out to you and sharing the goodness. Everybody, you're sharing back goodness. You're supporting them. You're helping others. You're giving back and giving back.
One of the people that listen to the show, he's become a friend, is sort of a budding writer. He'd like to write more, but he's busy. He works. He's got kids, and all those things. And again, all great things, right? But taking that extra time to sit down and write something, it's sort of his version of a mountain, right? To get that thing out and to create it. What's your advice to someone like that who's doing everything's good about what he's doing? He's raising a family, and these are wonderful things, but he wants to have this, he wants to take and nurture this writing habit. How do you get from wanting to doing more frequently?
This episode of the Break It Down Show is brought to you by Lions Rock Productions.
That's us.
We publish, evaluate, and develop podcasts just like this one, consult others to build their own, and create associated content and content marketing strategies.
So if you're launching or expanding your social media presence, your business or your personal brand, or if you just want to take your media presence to the next level,
reach out to us on Twitter
at Pete A. Turner
or at JohnLG69
at the Break It Down Show.
There's 1,000 ways to get a hold of us.
Now enjoy the show.
He wants to take and nurture this writing habit. How do you get from wanting to doing more frequently?
Well, in the stage that he's at, he's doing great things for his family and community and probably the school and other things. But I think part of it too is you prioritize a bit of your time and take a block of time and say, I'm just going to write 400 words every day.
Yeah.
It might take 20 minutes to an hour to do those 400 words, but it's about then honing the skill, the practice. He's working on his art, and so I think it's carve out time to dedicate time to your art, whatever it may be, whatever that interest may be. If you've got a couple things that are burning inside of you, take one of them and start carving some time, because you may not have too much time because, like you said, he's busy. He's got a lot of other good things happening. And I wouldn't want to take away from that, because those are important times. I mean, he's given his heart and soul to those times, but you do have to, I think, challenge yourself regularly. And so whatever it is, take some time to start working on it, and take some time to hone your own personal brand too, because you're shaping your own story. And if you want to go do something in a different space, maybe than what would be what you're currently doing, then it's going to take some time to build some awareness around your skills, your abilities, your art. And you need to, how you showcase that art matters.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the other thing to talk about too is you don't necessarily have to be perfect at this right away. You get to suck at it. You get to be crappy, or like. And this, I'm talking about your own opinion of your own thing. Like, let's say that you want to go out into the woods and you want to paint aspens, and you're just not at all happy, or you fear that they may not look good even before that time when you put paint on canvas. It's okay to start somewhere and to develop your own voice, your own paths up the mountain, whatever it's going to be. It's fine to allow yourself to learn. And at the pace that you can do. If you've got a life and you've got kids and you've got a job and a wife, they all need your care. They all need part of that community. It's all right to say, this is what I can do. Like you said, carve that hour out a week. Start there. Can you do 10 minutes a day? Well, if you can do 10 minutes a day, you're already doing more than an hour a week. And you just sit down and maybe you try to write the perfect 100 words. You just go, what's the perfect 100 words? Let me write 100 words and just start bonsaiing the crap out of that thing until it's a fantastic set of 100 words, and do that over the course of a week. It can be that where you start to at least build the muscle. You're in the gym, you're outside, and you're playing with something that enriches your soul.
You are so right, Pete, and it's so true that if you never ship your art, then you'll never ever have a market.
Yeah.
And so no one realizes that your first works of art, yeah, you're right, there could be disasters, and that's okay. but we're usually the hardest on ourselves, and realizing that the market won't even recognize or realize or even think about our first works of art, our first year of art. It'll be long forgotten. So just as long as the most important thing is carve the time, create the art, and ship the art. And it starts now. Tomorrow is too late. And I think, and your friend doing it, raising his family. I mean, everything is our kids, it's long been said the future, but it's not about educating our kids to be rich. It's about educating our kids to be happy and through experiences and the value of things, and not the value of price or objects or material things, but the value of people and the value of our community and the value of the environment. That's what we need to continue to work on, because if we do that, then we're raising our future full of care and hope and positivity. And I think that, this adding more joy to our life has never been more important.
Adding more joy to our life has never been more important. That's a fantastic quote. I'm going to talk to this guy, and look, this guy is a lot of guys, but in particular, this one person knows who it is. I've even offered to put his work up on the website as his own part of the gallery. Proud to put someone's creation on the website. So in general, I'll extend that to anybody listening. If you want to start writing, you can write about something. It can be related to the show. It can be not related to the show. But if you want to write something, I will put it on the website. So you already have your little corner of the gallery that you can start to create and feature your stuff. So I encourage everybody to do that. What about getting outside, though, Matt? Like, how do we do that? I mean, this is something you can certainly do with your kids. They've got to go to swim class or karate or whatever it is that they're doing. But how do you add in some nature and some wonder into your day when there's just no time?
Well, and you're so right. It can be really tough. And there's lots of people that have not even connected to nature before, so have no tradition or understanding about it. So Pete, you're so right. It really is about understanding the why first, because let me say first, I think nature is this incredible, the outside or outdoors is an incredible doctor. What does it provide? Well, it provides sunlight. You can get calm or restful feeling. You get exercise from it. You get what we talked about earlier, self-confidence, and you can even share the social of a walk with friends. So all of those elements are what I would call would be our daily RX. It's RX outside. Instead of going to buy pills, let's go outside. And how do we do that? Well, it can be in your busy day when you're parked waiting at the school for your child. It's that 15, 20-minute wait. Just park the car and go for a walk. Put a note on the car. Tell your child, I'll be here right when you're out. I'm here early to get my parking spot, but I've gone for a 20-minute walk. Simple as that. If you're afraid of going for that 20-minute walk, well, real easy resources in lots of communities could be the outdoor store. Many communities have outdoor stores that have daily walks. So you could even schedule that in at some of them are at noon, some of them are right after work, and some are even before work. There's yoga stores and yoga shops and yoga wear shops that do runs. You could, if you wanted to run outside, you could join one of those. Just in your natural areas around you, you can Google map parks nearby if you're not familiar where they may be at. And you can check your library. Local libraries have become powerful places for gathering people, not only for the indoor education, but also for outdoor education. So there's lots of resources, community parks and recs departments, many, many resources to help you with finding where to go. It's as simple as taking those first steps. If you want to learn some activity, like you mentioned biking or mountain biking, those are available too. Many low-cost ways to get outside and to try making first steps. And these first steps will be really powerful and magical. If you just go out and just start making those steps, whether it's turning the wheels of a bike or your own self-powered walking, or even learning how to surf in California or or one of the other coastal states, or paddleboard. It's just taking that step, and then what you're doing then after that is reflecting on with all of your senses, going all in, and really, really enjoying the moment in time that you're making. And it really can be carving time that maybe you already put that time into something else. Maybe you are binging on Netflix. Maybe you are on social media for too long. Maybe you have an hour lunch at work already, and what do you do with that hour? Or maybe if you got up extra early so the kids don't have to go to school, or your partner has to go to work, maybe it's if you got up at 7 or 6, maybe they could take the time in the morning. And I take time early morning, and you know what? It's really easy because you can put a headlamp on if you need to, and it's a peaceful, calm, and there's not much traffic out. And if you can't walk where you're at, then do it from where you work. And if you can't do it from where you work, then do it from your other locations that you go to for your day. And taking the steps first, Pete.
Yeah, taking the steps. And I'll say this too for folks that get up at 6. Shit, I do that every day. Then get up at 5, get up at 4, get up at 4, and be the person that is out every day walking on a trail or riding their bike or doing whatever, and is exhausted at 9 and desperate to go to bed because they have this enriching thing up front in the front part of their day. Be that person, or that person that gets up at 4 and just types those 100 words. Be the person who gets up a little bit earlier, and even if it's 10 extra minutes, and you spend that time creating, stretching, go out in your patio, even if it's cold, find a way to do something outside and push yourself, because the returns, they're enormous. I want to also, Matt, talk to the person whose life is in flux and chaos. Maybe they're just divorced. I know when I came back from doing combat stuff, financially, you run out of money at some point. I wasn't able to get a job. No one would interview me. My emotional life was wrecked because, the person I loved, it didn't work out. All of these problems, and it's just like, what do? You get desperate. You get, harm, and you get hopeless. And the thing I've learned is that there's a lot of hope in going out and being outside and interacting with others. I tend towards depression, and I do my damnedest to get outside and talk to people and kind of buttress myself against these deep dives in depression. And the faster I dive, the more I try to go do something to, get out of that moment, to break the descent. So those among us that are really hurting and trying to figure out, how do I restart my life? I'll suggest this. I've been doing a lot of swimming. My body's beat up from all the combat time. So, it's like, oh, why don't you go walk? Well, I can walk, but I can't walk 7 days a week. It hurts, and then I have to stop, and then I break, and then I don't do it anymore. So I figured out that swimming I can do pretty frequently. And the moment I get out of the pool, someone's wanting to talk to me. They're like, hey, how was your swim today? And I'm like, oh, yeah, it was awesome. And the next thing I know, I've got new friends at the pool. And these are people that just want to interact with me because I'm doing what they dig. We all dig the same things. And so I guess Pete would encourage anyone who's like, divorced, lost my job, whatever it is, to invest in outside. Go do these things. Even if it's by yourself at first, there are people out there that are looking for someone to go out and hike with. Even if you just shut up and hike together side by side, or someone is like, I'm going to go up the mountain anyhow. Why doesn't someone just sit in this car with me and kind of, do the ski Uber, where just come up and get up to the mountain. Like in California, there's mountains all around us. You're always 3 hours away at most from a mountain. So talk to those folks that are just really hopeless and depressed and can't even do the simple things we're talking about. How do we make it even more simple still?
You know what? You're so right, Pete, too, that humans are interesting. We have to sometimes go to the deepest, darkest places before we'll change, before we'll grab for that rope, before we'll take that leap in a different direction, take some steps. But we have to do that. And it's a different model for everyone, but it's like I always say, there is always someone. For me, the climbing metaphor, I depend on my rope team. So maybe sometimes you just got to share how you're feeling and share that you're open to want to make some change and open to want to try some things that are different with your rope team. And if you don't have any rope team, boy, there's lots of them out there. I totally agree. There are good places like the library, like recognized outdoor stores that want, or like the recognized outdoor clubs that do meetups, that do support, that do university outdoor programs that will help you out in learning how to try something different. You know, there are a lot of resources, but sometimes we just have to open our eyes or be accepting to say, I'm going to be a little bit more vulnerable and raw here, but I'm going to reach to that rope partner and say, hey, will you go for a walk with me? Or, hey, do you know a place where I can go to learn how to swim? Hey, do you know where there's a place where I can try an outing to the mountains for the first time? The resources are there. We've got to reach for the rope. And our rope is our friend, our community, and places of trust. And we all have those. Sometimes they're a little harder to get at, but we've just got to take that risk and make that happen. I think it's interesting. The moment, you know, we're distraction and darkness accumulates day by day, week by week, you know, so and it can become overwhelming. So, but if we focus on moving forward, doing things that are productive, more meaningful, having those important conversations, connecting with our neighbor or friends, going for that social coffee, experiences with loved ones, helping our kids out on something, helping just somebody out, a total stranger.
Yeah.
Then you know what? Our lives improve by virtually every measure. You will see improvement in goodness. It's fact. And you mentioned something else I want to just tap on really quickly, and that it's a simple tactic for a healthy life and sometimes very difficult for people, but sleep is so important. That rest piece is so important. So if we go outside, we take steps, whether you take your steps in the pool or on a bike or by foot, you get that activity. You go to work, you come home, you're going to feel more tired. You put in natural energy food inside your body, and you're going to go to sleep. It's going to be easier to sleep. And then your mornings will be much easier over time. And then your joy will be much easier over time because you'll have more energy. So it's just taking care of ourselves 360 is so vital. Inside, outside health and our community health. So external and internal. So if we get that to happen in simple stages, then we're going to be enjoying a much healthier life, and we're going to be much better for those that matter in our lives. And we're going and we'll be not only providing more joy, but more joy will fill ourselves up inside.
Talk about your book a little bit, man, because that was a really powerful moment. I want people to, who are like, I need more of this. I want to give them more. So talk about The Adventurer's Guide to a Happy Life.
Well, it's something that I just kind of wrote for, like your buddy, put it in a couple hundred words down every day as I was spending 63 nights in my car. And when you spend 63 nights in your car, this was before #van life was cool, right. And it was in the middle of winter, and it was cold. Every night was cold. I mean, I think in Wyoming, I hit minus 35 in my car and didn't have my climbing sleeping bag was good, but it wasn't that good. And so, you think about a lot of things because you're awake almost the whole time because you're shivering. And you also depend on your community so much. So through those 63 days, I had people who helped me out a ton, people who shared a hot cocoa with me and shared a smile with me. And one person even shared a warmer sleeping bag, and all of that stuff, So through all that, I just started writing little notes to myself. And then I wanted to give this thing, a little book to my kids so they could kind of have a little bit more insight into me and my life. And then I thought, my kids said, hey, Dad, why don't you share this with others? And then I thought, okay, well, I'll put it together. And it's a real easy little guide. It's nothing fancy, super easy read. And it really was about helping me understand a little bit more things. But then when I heard from others that it helped them with a kind of provided a rudder. If you're on a sailing boat, you need your rudder to provide you a good course in life. And And it's so I wrote it for not only my kids, but then now from what I've heard is that it's providing some goodness for others too. So I hope that some of these 63 tips, they're my tips of what has worked for me over time, and I hope that they can provide some goodness for others and help others along their journey along the long trail of life.
Yeah, this is fantastic. So this is Powder Matt Mosteller, and I will just tell you that it's just such a joy to find people like Matt out there who are investing in joy, investing in wonder, and trying to help us all do the same things. I mean, this is one of the great things about podcasts is we can give you a platform to tell this, because someone needs this message today desperately. I mean, I talk to a lot of folks because of this show, and a lot of people who are on the listening end of the show also talk to me, and it's like, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that, and what I think my job is to create this platform, and also just to say, what's the easiest thing you can do today that invests in your happiness? What's the simplest, shortest, easiest thing that you can do every day? And if that means putting the bar on the floor and you just walk over the bar instead of jumping over 8 feet in the air every day, then put the bar on the floor and just go, I'm able to do this. I can raise this an inch. And then you just keep going until you can find what you do all the time that invests in your happiness and wellness. And for me, these conversations, getting over the bar all the time with these conversations and reminding myself as much as anybody else that I can go outside. Actually, my girl and I, we were just about to go out and do a walk, and I'm like, oh, crap, I got to talk to Matt. And I'm so glad I took the time to do this, because I will go walk in a little bit, but these are the moments that improve and impact not just our own lives, but each other's lives. Being vulnerable, allowing someone to help you, being comfortable with being vulnerable and not having to do it all yourself, helping other people. All of these things, they enable you to get tremendous gifts. Yes, there's struggle. You'll be in your bag, in your Corolla hatchback, sleeping out by that mountain in your bag, and you're freezing cold, but that's the best kind of suffering sometimes, I love that it sucks this much. I've said that so many times in the Army when you're doing incredible things, but it's so impactful on your life in such a positive way.
Hey, Pete, well, thank you very much. And thanks for being an agent of positive change. We're very, very fortunate and grateful to be able to share time with you. And thanks for sharing all of the conversations that you share with everybody through all of your podcasts that provide that positive change for so many and provide that spark for so many.
Tell people how to find you on social media. I know you do a lot on Twitter and Instagram. Tell them what your handle is so we can find you.
Oh, that's wonderful, and thank you for that. It's at Powder Matt, powder as in snow, POWDERMATT. And that's both Twitter and Instagram, and love always hearing from people and hopefully connecting with people too, because people are doing so much great things out there, and I'm just so stoked with how much goodness and joy is being shared today and from so many different people making things happen. Pete, thank you very much.